Okay, yeah, am I audible now? Thank you for the input here. Thank you, thank you. We are facing some issues today apparently, but thanks to you, I am sure we can definitely go ahead and resolve all of these. So any questions that you have for me, any concern that you have, anything that you want me to discuss or talk about before we start? So go ahead, share those things with me in the chat, and we definitely be able to move from there. Okay, so let us otherwise start. So basically, you know what we do in crash course, right? We go ahead and review a lot of content, practice together, learn some tricks, tips, techniques, all of that. So let us go ahead, let's start. So here is a passage from CAT 2021 for you on your screen, and I want you to go ahead, look at that, and start answering the questions that are based on it. Once you are done with this paragraph, let me know and I'll take you over to the next slide, okay? Plenty of shortcuts, Lakshmi Narzima. Depends on the question type. So I mean, when you say when we use the word shortcut, what I hear is how do I save time? How do I? So shortcut is something that takes less time. So one very obvious thing that I do is I try to see if I can do certain things outside the examination hall that can help me save time inside the examination hall. So we can all break it down in between. Arnav says you are coming. Oh, hang on. Yes, you are absolutely right. Let me just minimize this so that we are able to read it fully. I'm so sorry. The delay has thrown me off guard. Okay, so here you go. So hopefully you'd be able to read it now. Thank you for the reminder here. I would have figured it out a little late otherwise. Okay, next. Yeah, Karthik, let others catch up just very briefly and I'll switch, huh? Okay, so here is the next one. Yeah, I know. Most of the questions that I've picked up are previous year questions, and chances are that some of you may have gone through some of these already. But Arnav has a nice, interesting question if you read it in the chat. Face difficulty in comprehending the idea of a person being different than a human. Arnav, I come from North India. Okay. And in North India, when we look at the moon, what do we think of it as? So you realize in Hindi, we often treat moon as a person. Remember, there is this figure of speech called personification, where you treat inanimate objects as persons. We do that way too frequently. So moon is treated as a person. So for young kids, we say Chanda Mama, Chanda Mama. And then when you grow up, it becomes Chand Si Mehbooba. So gender tak change kar dete hai, bhai sirf personification chodo. So we have all sort of things happening there, right? So that's what we are talking about. So they kind of personified inanimate objects. But according to the passage, the Mayans were far too serious about that personification than we are. Okay, so if we are done with that, let's dive into our questions. So here is question number 1. What's your take on this? Hitansha, yes, some VA questions as well. And then we are also meeting tomorrow at 12. I haven't yet started working on that yet. So if you have requests, send them my way and I can try to accommodate those. है ना, कल वाले सेट में जो गाने बोलोगे, जो क्वेश्चन टाइप्स बोलोगे, डाल देंगे. And Arnav, hold on to your answers. Answer late. Since you've already attempted it, you may remember the answers and your answers then can go on to influence others who come after you. So answer a little late. No, Arnav, as I said, it is very easy to visualize them as persons, and they thought of them as persons. They were far more serious about it, and that's okay. You notice there are some people who treat their pets as children, and then there are some who don't. So Mayans belong to the category where they treated the objects as persons. And then there are people who don't. There are civilizations, there are cultures that don't. So, okay. So, if we talk about this particular question now, the first thing that we need to do is we need to figure out the purpose of the iPhone example. Right? So the very first paragraph has this iPhone example. So the author used that example to convey a particular idea that non-human persons were not persons simply because of their human connection or their usefulness to humans. Right? Personhood would be, and then the second paragraph beginning goes on to say personhood is activated only when they have certain bodily needs and participate in certain social activities. So merely because it is connected to a human being, dependent on a human being for some of its needs and serves a useful purpose does not make it a person. Now we want to invalidate it. How do I invalidate it? I invalidate it if I say that something like an iPhone was treated as a person, or something that was tethered to the people, needed resources from people, was useful for the people, was labeled as a person by the Mayans. So if you look at A says that it was the usefulness that made them treat stone chopper as a person. But then the iPhone example says that it was not about usefulness. So if A is true, this contradicts or invalidates the iPhone example, and that is why in this particular answer, in this particular question, the answer should be option A. Fair enough? let's dive into, and I think quite a few of you have anyway gotten this right, and I'm just holding Arnav back for a while, so I don't know how it's working for him, but it's definitely working for me. Question number 2. So question 1, answer A. Here is question 2. What's your take? Yeah, Manish, we were facing certain technical difficulties here, and therefore it is not live on the app. In case, but if the session is not live, you'd not be able to head over to the chat as well, would you? Let me just check if I can pop into the chat. Nope. You're not able to access chat either. Okay, so loads and loads of you are giving me D as the answer, which actually is right. So since you guys are picking up the right answers, I think that saves me the opportunity to explain. Okay, C as well. So let us see. What do we want to do? Which of the following, if true, would not undermine the democratizing potential? So democratizing potential is where every person as well as a non-person is treated as an equal. They are all treated as individuals, right? So if you look at C, we are saying that okay, they believed in personhood of objects and plants, but not that of rivers and animals. So that's not democratizing, right? They are undermining the democratizing potential of the classic Maya worldview, because they are creating a sort of inequality there, and that is why C can be eliminated. Yeah, Tanisha, unfortunately we could not start the session on the app for some technical reasons. So after trying to find out a solution for around 7 odd minutes, we decided to take a call that we'd go ahead on the YouTube at least, so we could at least start here. So let's see. Okay, here comes. So question number 2, answer is D. I also received C, so I went on to explain that. Here is the third one. Yeah, Pratham, you can if you want to. I've also updated the team. Let's see if they can do something about it. Yeah, Tanisha, the link is there, but we are not able to stream simultaneously on both the places they were. I don't even, frankly speaking, I don't even understand half of the things that they tell me when there is a technical problem that arises. So I just focus on grappling with the intricacies of English. But yeah, if there is a way for any of you to reach out to the rest of the people on the app who could be interested, please let them know and they can join in here. Okay, so for question number 3, the answer is indeed, as a lot of you have already shared, option C. So C it is. Now we've also picked up D. Now you notice A and B were relatively easy to eliminate. Then yeah, C and D both talk about bodily needs of the non-persons. But then remember there were these two things: bodily needs and participation in social activity, participation or interacting with the community around. So between C and D, C also talks about the community, talks about that external need with the help of an ecosystem. Because they form an ecosystem, whereas D talks only about the bodily needs part and not exactly the external part. So that is what helps us choose C over D. Good evening, Agastya. Good to have you here. And here is question number 4. This, at least when I was writing this paper, I found this one easy. And I hope you do too. Okay, so we have answers from Saurav, Pratham. Shweta is being very active today. So absolutely spot on, guys. D it is indeed. It is all in the context of they were non-binary. So they did not really think of it as only, you can be, that you can be just a person and nothing else. So something can be a person as well as a tree. That was the example of instance burner, and that's where D comes in. And with that, let us dive into our next passage. Ready for the next one then? So here it is on your screen right now. Let's get up for it. So that's a fairly impactful paragraph 1. And here taking you over to the next one. Okay, taking you to the next para. Okay, and the next. And next. And next. This is the last paragraph. Okay, and let's move over to the questions. Here is the first one. We can infer that the author is in favor of what? Yeah, I know यार वो क्या करें. Some of you have gone through these, but Tanisha, monolingualism is the key issue that we need to counter, is what is stated in the last couple of paragraphs, and yes, that is what makes D the best answer choice. In fact, if I take you just to the last paragraph, you'd find it. See this? And the right before it you have this bit. Monolingualism then, not globalization, should be a primary concern. So people think it is because of globalization. The author says, nah, the actual key issue is monolingualism, where some people consider their language to be the only language that suffices. Okay, next one. This is more of a specific detail question. Let's see what you answer. Okay, so we've got an A, B and D so far. All right. Okay, so you basically need to refer to the second paragraph in order to access all the different reasons that are cited as reasons for the decline of the language. And so it talks about pull factors and push factors. So push factors like war, famine, natural disasters. And then there are these pull factors that talk about complex political, cultural and economic reasons. So sometimes you do it voluntarily. So if you look at, and then there is a state coercion that is also mentioned, although often amplified by state coercion. So if you look at these, then B, C and D find mention in the passage. A does not, and that is what makes A the right answer. Notice we were being asked for except. All of these are mentioned there. So when you look at catastrophic event, let me just quickly take you back there. We can anyway have a look and then let's find it out. Look at this. This is a catastrophic event, right? So you have B. Then people can leave their language in favor of another vernacular. So it can be a voluntary thing too, right? I had a professor who was learning German because most of the he was physics professor, our physics professor, and he said that a lot of model research was done in German, and what I've read are translations, but then you miss out on that flavor, so let's learn German and go ahead. So that's why A. So all B, C and D are all mentioned there. A is not mentioned, where focus on only a few languages as a result of widespread internet use, you would not find it anywhere in the passage. So that is why A. Here is the next one. The author mentions the Welsh language to show that. Go back to the right place, read the context, then answer. Okay. Absolutely studyholic, yaar. You are on YouTube. You can always use the seeker to go back to the passage. Come on. We've been working together for such a long time. By now you know how it works on YouTube, right? Okay. So the correct answer is B. Is it B? Is it C? Which one of the two? It is going to be option C. So if you look at the context, globalization is not mentioned there. And A, of course, is not relevant to that example. So in that particular context where Welsh has been mentioned, you know, we're talking about, in fact, should we go back? Let's go back. क्यों आलस करना? कुछ clicks ही तो है. Here they are. So this is the context that we are talking about. Long stigmatized and disparaged. Look at the context. So Welsh became, or Welsh was at the receiving end of politics, state coercion, neglect. But then suddenly the last sentence goes against the run of the play. It says that, oh, it has rebounded with vigor. The rest of the paragraph talks about decline, various reasons behind the decline. Suddenly in the end it says that, oh, there is a language which gone through that, but it has rebounded with vigor. So the purpose is to show that politics does play a role, yet a language can bounce back from it. and C comes closest to this. So Dhruvesh, I hope that helps. But when you say B, vulnerable languages can rebound with state effort, this is something that is not mentioned in the paragraph. In fact, state was against it. So where does the paragraph say that state went on to support Welsh? State was actually using coercion / neglect in order to push Welsh out. Yet it has rebounded with vigor. Why, how is not something that the passage, the paragraph or the example talks about. All right, so C it is for question number 7. Here is 8th. Oh, Dhruvesh, your caps lock is on, man. Please don't forget that there is an except here. So 3 of these are true, 1 of these is not true. The one which is not true is going to be the answer. Arey Vrinda, I saw your message earlier as well. I thought that once the passage gets over, we can talk about it, All right, so the correct answer for question number 8 is option A. If you look at B, C and D, I think all the 3 can actually be found in the first paragraph itself. Oh, they are, you are absolutely right, Satvik. Why is it repeated? I think somebody has accidentally made this mistake, but that made your job easy, your life easy. Yeah, Vikram, I think. So, most of my presentations, I make them myself. Sometimes I outsource this. So, this is one of those cases. मेरे से भी गलतियां हो जाती हैं, अब क्या बोले यार. Okay, so with that, let's move over to the next passage. But before I move over to the next passage, I want to address questions. So Vrinda, I know this concern very intimately. I think a lot of students bring this to me, but I don't have a generic answer for it. How to eliminate options? What is the ideal approach? What's the best way out? It's very closely associated with the question type. So the approach that we have for inference, for example, will be different from the approach that I have for a main idea question, which is different from the approach that I have for tone-based question. So that is why I generally say that, hey, give me a trend. Identify a question type where you make a lot of mistakes. Then we can focus on that question type. We can build the relevant ability. We can also fine-tune our approach towards eliminating options, and that can increase or push up your accuracy rate. Well, sir, it's very intimately linked with the question type. And with 4 days out, I think we have Friday and Saturday, I think now is the time when we should basically pick up maybe one question type and focus on that. Okay, moving over, and then there was this another question which somebody had sent that I could not answer earlier. Where did that go? Missed out on that, I reckon. So let's Vrinda, let's take it offline. Let's take it outside the class then, otherwise we'd not be able to practice enough. आज वैसे ही थोड़ा लेट भी हो गए यार, है ना, 7 मिनट टेक्निकल इश्यूज के चक्कर में चले गए हमारे. Okay, so but just to shift things a bit, here is a passage that has been borrowed from ZAT. So what is usually different in ZAT? Passages can be smaller, though not necessarily always, and then you get 5 options. So in the questions that follow, you'd be dealing with 5 options. And Vrinda, my favorite way of dealing with main idea questions is 180-degree approach, where the 2 options that confuse me, I treat them as essay topics, and then I mentally generate an outline of those essays, and then I compare those outlines with the passage that is given to me. And all of this may sound like a lot of work, but frankly, it does not take more than 20-30 seconds. So try that out and then see if that works. All right, so taking you over to the next paragraph. Okay, next paragraph. Right, here is next. Okay, so this was the last paragraph of the passage. Here is the question. So which of the following statements best summarizes the author's view on stupidity? So, Vrinda, a question for you, main idea question. Pick it up, try it out, try out that 180-degree approach and then see if it helps. Okay, so if I look at the author's take on this, what would I say? What exactly is stupidity? So one thing is, in the second paragraph from the example, we can figure out that, say you have a solution, but the situation that you're facing is a new situation. If you still apply that old solution, which is no longer relevant for this situation, then that is stupidity. So that is one. And if you read the subsequent paragraph, particularly I'd say the last paragraph, the last couple of paragraphs, you'd say that our inability to read a situation correct, our inability to comprehend a new phenomenon, that intellectual lacking, that is also stupidity. So which answer choice captures both of these ideas is what I am looking at. So A, B and C get ruled out. I think the choice for me was more between D and E. So whatever is stated in D is correct. But then E is more comprehensive, and E says pushing our extant solution. Extant is a solution which is already in existence to an alien problem is stupidity. Right? So this is the actual definition according to the passage. That lack of intellectual capability is the cause. So if I look at D versus E, D gives me the cause but not the definition. E gives me the definition, and of the two, if I have to pick up one, then I think picking up the definition is more important than picking up the cause here. And okay, why not C? Absolutely, the inability to comprehend what is happening around us. No, the inability to comprehend that the situation is new and your old solutions will not work. That is stupidity. According to the passage, I say, not according to me, but we can look at. So here is one take. See, outdated. So this is basically as good a definition as you would find. Then there is another part as well. So this example would also back this. So I think, yeah, we can, on the whole, A, B and C I'd say were still distortions. So E it is. Here is question number 10. So I remember getting stuck on this question in the exam for a while because momentarily, I don't know why I did that, but I abandoned elimination. I formed an answer, I went back to the passage, formed an answer and started comparing every answer choice against that answer that I had formed. And the absolute best answer may not even be available among the options. So that's why I repeatedly say that it is important to eliminate. In A, is it okay to say any rationalization and acceptable? Okay, B says okay, let me take you back to the relevant part first. Let's just reread that. Here it is, right? So what do you see? You see a person carrying a conceptual framework, whereas the reality was different. So he could not come up with the right strategy. Right? In at least, and then the author from this says, in at least some cases, intelligence actively abets stupidity by allowing pernicious rationalization. Rationalization is where you try to justify what happened. And when you justify, you're obviously sticking to your own conceptual framework. You're saying that conceptual framework was right. This is what must have gone wrong. Okay. So you use that. So if I look at A, intelligence when perceived through past successes makes any rationalization of new phenomenon acceptable. So it's not about any rationalization. Right? You are actively creating a rationalization to explain it to yourself. Okay, so that part basically distorts it. Let's look at B. Intelligent people are scared to admit their lack of knowledge. This is something which is not even been mentioned in the paragraph. So let's rule it out. How about C? Past successes make us believe that we are intelligent and capable of explaining any new phenomenon. Will that work? Maybe, but I would ideally want to say in some cases. D, intelligence is poorly defined and is usually a perception irrelevant for the paragraph. E, a new phenomenon creates fear. It's not fear that is mentioned as a cause. So E is also ruled out. So as we can see, the best answer choice is going to be C. And pick up C, but is it like the absolute best way of framing that particular part? Not really. But this is going to be the best part because the other options happen to have bigger mistakes. And thus the answer for 10th should be option C. Here is your next question. Question number 11, what's your take? This is a classic XAT question. These are the kind of questions which are very peculiar to XAT. So any of you who's writing XAT, you need to be ready to deal with this particular direction, this particular flow of thought. Okay, so see, A is not mentioned in the passage, should be ruled out. It is not that you're not discussing, that is why you're making mistakes. The problem is you may lack the intellectual capacity to create a framework for a given situation, and problem number 2, you use an outdated, and as a result I'd say you use an outdated framework and apply it to a situation which is actually new or novel. So you need to basically avoid doing that. You should not apply an outdated conceptual framework, an outdated solution to a new problem. So which one of these captures it the best? So B says being aware that we must handle future with a different cognitive tool. No, your cognitive tool would remain the same. That is intelligence. But you need to guard against one particular tendency of your cognitive tool. See, being aware that our current answers are only applicable to the current context. I mean, ideally what I have in my mind is that we say that the answers that we have in our mind at the moment based on the past situations were applicable on the past situations. They may not be applicable on to the current situation. So this does distort it a bit, but let us see. D, being aware that we are short of the required resources, no. Being cautious, no. So I think A, B, D and E get eliminated rather easily, and that leaves us with C as being the closest to that idea. So what is stupidity? You do the opposite of that and you'd be basically able to avoid it. So that's 11. Then Agastya says in the last question, why is A? Is any rationalization. See, the passage talked about we use it actively to create rationalizations. So it's not that we are accepting rationalizations. We are actively engaged in creating those rationalizations, creating those justifications for our failure. So that is where it deviated from the script. Okay, so I guess it's already 8, so let us stop here today. I know one or two of you definitely wanted to practice VA, so I had not planned on doing that, but I have a session at 12 tomorrow. Let's meet each other once again at 12 o'clock on this very channel, and I will ensure that we do go through some verbal ability questions, especially para completion questions as well. So I will front load the VA tomorrow at 12, and then we can go ahead and focus a little bit on reading comprehension as well. So if you have any other questions, feel more than free to reach out to me outside the class, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. So let's just skip these. Here is the list of the upcoming sessions. Now thankfully I do not even need to say sessions. We have just one, which is tomorrow at 7 p.m. by Gautam Baba, 48 hours to CAT 23. And if you're new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe to it and press the bell icon. And of course on 26th we'll have a detailed analysis of every slot, and not only that, you'd also be able to access the score calculator and a percentile predictor. So after every CAT slot we'll give you that first look, and a little while later we'll give you a thorough analysis of that particular paper. Then okay, and then you know that you can reach out to me using any of these places. Let me take a couple of questions. It's okay, Dhruvesh, we can try that again tomorrow. Shweta, in most accepted 500 question session, sir, matlab main samjha nahi Shweta. Suffer from random anxiety attacks. Yeah, that's okay, Arnav. That's all right, man. Avoid caffeine, get a good night's sleep, meditate. Anything that does not get fixed by these would then require therapeutic interventions. Although I'm qualified to talk about those, but then this is not exactly a forum or a place for talking about those. But I can tell you that a lot of successful athletes use visualization. And I read this very interesting tidbit about Olympians. So an Olympic athlete thought that throughout their training, for 3.5, 4 years, almost 4 years, whenever they ran a race, whenever they practiced, they imagined it to be the real event. And then they brought in that kind of intensity. But on the day of the Olympics, they reminded themselves that, hey, this is just another event of the type that I've gone through multiple times in the past. So that shift in the thought process where, the mocks are treated as actual CAT and the actual CAT is treated as just another test, just another mock that we wrote, takes away a fair bit of that pressure. अच्छा कल श्वेता, हाँ कल वो 500 या 100 क्वेश्चन वाली जो हमारी सीरीज थी ना, उसमें 12 बजे, बिल्कुल मैं भूल गया। अच्छा सीरीज वो 100 क्वेश्चन के नाम से, 500 क्वेश्चन तो जून जुलाई में शुरू की थी यार, वो तो खत्म भी कर दी थी हमने। चलिए, so that's where we stop today. I look forward to meeting you guys once again tomorrow at 12. If you have issues with VA, turn up, and we'd be able to solve some of those questions together, and thereafter let's have fun. Okay, so have a great evening, grab a quick bite, sleep on time, and You know how important that can be, right? So, see you soon.